Down in Florida, a man named Michael Tonzi, seen here, was facing the death penalty for a pretty horrific crime he committed in the year 2000, in which he abducted and murdered a woman named Janet Acosta. Recently, however, Tonzi's lawyers tried to get him out of the death penalty by using a pretty interesting legal defense. From CBS News, lawyers for a Florida murderer on death row are trying to halt his scheduled execution, saying his weight and health conditions could lead to a botched lethal injection. In court documents, lawyers for Michael Tonzi, 48, say he is morbidly obese and suffers from sciatica, a condition that causes pain along the back sciatic nerve. Tonzi's lawyers argued that Florida's lethal injection procedure might not work because of his weight, highlighting that a sedation drug might not fully take effect and leave him paralyzed but aware during the process. The existing protocols for lethal injection do not contemplate the execution of someone with obesity and uncontrolled medical conditions, like Mr. Tonzi's, that are likely to complicate the lethal injection process, Tonzi's lawyers said in their brief. Executing Mr. Tonzi using the existing protocols is likely to cause serious illness and needless suffering. So they were arguing that Tonzi was too obese to be executed humanely and too sciatic. And it's actually not the craziest legal argument I've ever heard of. After all, lethal injections are often botched. Here's an NPR article from a few years ago. More than a third of executions in 2022 were botched, a report finds. To be fair, I think the word botched in this context includes injections where the executioners simply couldn't find a vein, and so couldn't do the execution, but that does at least show that many executioners are incompetent. The article explains that executioners are not trained physicians, but prison personnel, so the people doing executions don't always have a lot of medical experience. So arguing that health conditions may increase the risk of a botched lethal injection isn't that far-fetched, in my opinion, but in any case, the argument didn't work, and Michael Tonzi was later executed by a lethal injection. This isn't the first time a similar situation has happened. In 2012, a convicted murderer named Ronald Post similarly tried unsuccessfully to argue that his weight, which was 480 pounds, along with other health issues, meant that it would be impossible to execute Post humanely. In 2008, a man, also a convicted murderer named Richard Cooey, tried also to argue that his obesity would prevent a humane execution. That didn't work. He was later executed. I mean, he was only 267 pounds. That's barely even obese in America, anyways. In 1994, a man named Mitchell Roop, who had murdered 2 people, argued that he was too heavy to be hanged at over 425 pounds. This case is interesting because it actually worked. The judge was concerned that Roop's weight meant that he could be decapitated while being hanged, which would be cruel and unusual punishment, I guess. I don't know why being decapitated is more cruel than being hanged, but anyways, Mitchell Roop didn't have to be executed. He instead died of liver failure in 2006. Finally, we have a man named Donald Snyder, who in the 1950s was sentenced to an execution by electric chair after he killed a 9-year-old girl. He decided to gain weight so that he would be too fat in order to fit in the electric chair. And he managed to go from 150 pounds to over 300. And he was pretty cocky. He was even talking about what the newspapers were going to say the morning after when he was too big to be executed. But he actually fit in the electric chair perfectly. He was executed the same as if he had done none of that. So basically, if you're going to be executed, obesity is probably a weak excuse. Unless you're going to be hanged. Anyways, moving on to a completely different horrific crime, a fake unlicensed surgeon just caused the death of a New York woman after he performed surgery on her. Felipe Hoyos Ferronda supposedly posed as a plastic surgeon on TikTok, which was seen by a woman named Maria Peñalosa, who then hired Hoyos Ferronda to remove her butt implants. Peñalosa went to Hoyos Ferronda's house to get the procedure done, which Sounds sketchy. Anyways, Hoyos Ferunda, despite having no medical license, injected a type of anesthetic called lidocaine into Peñalosa with a syringe, after which Peñalosa became unresponsive. Hoyos Ferunda, I guess after realizing that he messed up, tried to flee the country. Police officers stopped him at JFK International Airport before he was able to board the first leg of a flight to Colombia. He was arrested and is being charged with assault and practicing medicine without a license. As for Peñalosa, she was taken to the hospital where she was declared brain dead and showed signs of lidocaine toxicity. She later ended up dying as a result. Look, I'm not here to victim blame this woman. That being said, I would recommend not relying on TikTok to find doctors, especially if they're basing their practices out of their house. As for the fake surgeon, why would you actually perform dangerous cosmetic surgery? It sounds like he was actually practicing medicine for some time before this incident. The New York Times discusses Hoyos Ferunda's social media activity. On TikTok, he listed prices for procedures, advertised sales, and mentioned special events, including a $450 Botox party. What? During the Christmas holiday. He also posted videos of the procedures themselves, some of which appeared to be performed on massage tables in a residential setting as dramatic music played in the background. In one video, a woman can be seen undergoing a gluteal procedure while laying on a table next to a blue couch. As messages in Spanish flash on the screen, sculpt your glutes with our machine, and safe and painless method. Be safe out there, folks. Don't go to sketchy doctors. I have a story about a strange reason why a mayor of a U.S. city had to resign from his office. Traveling over to the city of Minot, North Dakota, which is the state's fourth largest city, the mayor of Minot, Tom Ross, recently resigned after accidentally sending an inappropriate video of himself masturbating to the city attorney, Stephanie Stahlheim. Ross says the video was meant for his girlfriend, but he had accidentally sent it to the wrong person. Also, to paint a picture, Ross and Stahlheim had just minutes earlier finished a telephone conversation with each other about a police officer's suicide, so that probably was a bit of a whiplash for her. If you're going to sext, you should probably check at least twice that you're sending it to the right person. Personally, when I'm sending even asinine text, I have to make sure I'm sending it to the right person. That being said, that's not as bad as our next story. A man in Pennsylvania was arrested after trying to send a medical form to a medical business when he accidentally sent an image of illegal sexual content involving children. You really have to mess it up for this to happen. I mean, I'm glad he did because he was arrested. When the police raided his house, they found over hundreds of similar images on his computer and CDs, which had taken over 20 years to amass. Maybe just get a hobby or something. I don't know. He also apparently was previously a teacher and a coach for over 3 decades. Genuinely disturbing stuff here, folks. In fact, let's just move on. Queensland surgeon fined for sharing photo of patient's swastika tattooed penis. Yeah. There was a far-right extremist that was trying to build a pipe bomb in Australia, and the pipe bomb exploded in his hands. So he was taken to the hospital and put into a coma. The surgeon treating him while he was comatose saw this guy's unusual tattoo, and he was probably thinking, well, that's a little weird. So that he sent a picture of the guy's penis tattoo to colleagues. Hey guys, check out this Nazi penis. Anyways, somehow the authorities found out, and the surgeon had to pay a 10,000 Australian dollar fine for violating the patient's privacy. But come on, we're just having some fun here. It's a Nazi penis. Come on, you don't see that every day. Full disclosure, I don't think surgeons should take pictures of patients' penises. That being said, come on. It's a Nazi penis. Police escort woman off flight after she's unable to pay for Pringles. A woman on a Ryanair flight bought a can of Pringles, a bottle of water, and a Coke for £7. However, the card reader wasn't able to read her credit card, and she didn't have enough cash with her, so the police were called on her. Ryanair claims that the passenger became disruptive, but the passenger disputes this. In any case, when the airplane landed, the police literally just took her to a cash machine. She withdrew £7 to give to the airplane, and the police were like, "You're free to go." What a giant waste of time. But yeah, now that woman is banned from Ryanair. She said she's not flying with Ryanair again anyways. It's probably for the best. Stranger has sex with corpse on Manhattan subway train, body robbed twice. New York really is a cold, uncaring jungle. This happened in lower Manhattan. A man died in an idle subway car of natural causes. And a few hours later, another man, this man, stepped into the car, came across the body, and proceeded to perform unholy acts on the corpse. So not only is this a necrophilia incident, it was also gay. Sorry. Yeah, so after that happened, the suspect proceeded to rob the corpse and then leave the subway car. And just a little while later, a different man came on the subway car and he also robbed the corpse. The second man did not have sex with the corpse, as far as I know, which is good. Oh, look, we've reached the last article of the video, the article of the week, some people are calling it. California woman uses world's largest tongue to play Jenga. Okay. So there's this woman. We can play the video, actually. This woman is from California and is named Chanel Tapper. And her outstretched tongue from lips to tongue point is 3.8 inches, making it the longest tongue on a female. There's this quote from her from this video. Honestly, the best reaction I could ever get when someone sees my tongue is screaming. I actually do like when people yell or scream in shock or horror sometimes. Ew, she's touching her nose. Shock or horror sometimes. Shock or horror sometimes, but that's probably my favorite one because it's funny to me because it's a dramatic response. Oh my God. In my opinion, that's a long tongue. And also, in my opinion, this is the end of the video.